nice shirt.
Hey, I mean, I thought I would represent, our own individual merch this week since I've been throwing everything else into it. This is a navy blue shirt, by the way, with our logo on it. So,
Nice. Well, it's
yeah.
about time you wore something that said Moto State.
I
So
mean, I have the hat on, but it's always backwards. So, I mean, that's just one of those things, I guess. But how was your weekend? You ride much
well,
this
hold on.
weekend?
Speaking of shirts, I'm repping one of our listeners' shirts, Chris, over at City Morgue Cycles here in St.
Oh,
Louis.
very cool.
He's also bought some merch, a couple shirts, hats, or something. I don't know, but appreciate his support. And he's worked on my Street Glide, and a damn good dude. So, Chris, thanks for the love. We appreciate it.
He local in St. Louis. I'm gonna have to go over and check. Does he have a website?
No, he's on. I don't know. That's a good question. I know he's on Instagram, and the only way I knew he was there was listening to the Fast Life Garage podcast, and
Oh,
he was interviewed on there. And I was like, oh, this guy's in my backyard. So he's literally like 15 minutes away. Had no idea.
oh,
So
nice. I'll have to go see if he's got a website. I know he's on Instagram. I know. I mean, because he's promoted us on Instagram, which I
yes,
fully appreciate, and so I'll have to check it, see if he's got any links through his Instagram page, and see if he's got any merch. I should go pick up a shirt or something.
yeah. Or I'll grab you one and mail it to you.
Oh
So
yeah, that would work too.
yeah. This weekend riding. Yeah, I got out and Saturday. Got out and rode a little bit. Went to a car and bike show, which was really cool. Not a lot of bikes, but a whole lot of cool old cars. Went and saw a friend of mine who's building a chopper, and she's about done with that. That thing looks badass. So that was really fun, and it was finally cool enough to get out and ride without sweating your ass off. So it was nice to have a comfortable ride. First time I've had that in a few weeks.
So, car show like this, did you take your Street Glide? Did you take your FXR?
I took the FXR.
Okay. So, do you use your FXR more for like in town riding and that kind of stuff? Is that how you kind of you make that decision that way?
Yeah, it's just so much easier to throw that thing around, especially living in the city. And if I'm in, usually I'm not riding in the city, but even just out in the county and all that, it's just easier to throw that thing around. Yeah, and that's just kind of morphed into it. It was probably 50-50 last year. It was the first year I had the FXR. This year I've rode that FXR way, way, way more than my Street Glide. So
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, so Street Glide's been more either for Kristen and I riding together, or when I try to take a trip, it never really works out. But when I try to take a trip, that's a great long distance bike, obviously. So,
Sure.
what
Sure.
about you? Did you get some riding in?
Welcome to Moto State Podcast, where we talk about motorcycles, life, and everything in between. I did, man. I made. I had to. I have to tell you the story because I made a seriously questionable decision this week, this last week in riding. So, I went out with
Wait,
Bob.
that's different from when?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe true, but I went out with Bob and his, I guess you'd say cousin through marriage. I don't know how that relates, but his wife's cousin. I guess maybe that's a better way.
There
His
you
wife's
go.
cousin, who did come out to FDBM last year, but he lives in Fargo, so he lives like in a town about 75 miles away. So we went down there, and then we rode east over into Minnesota in the Lakes Country because there was a little like hole in the wall place we were going to go eat, and we did. We went over to this place and went and ate, and I guess apparently sometime about 10 years ago or so, this little hole in the wall made the like Minnesota paper for one of the top burger joints in the entire state of Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And it literally is it's a hole in the wall. They don't even take cash cards. Cash is king there. That's the
Okay.
only thing they take is cash. And it's no indoor seating. It's like a little lake cabin house that was converted into a restaurant right next to a lake. Picnic tables outside, so you have to get your food. They bring it out to you at a picnic table in like a little to-go thing. And you can eat it there and toss it, or you can do whatever. Or you can take it to go, essentially. Those are your options. There's no eating in there, but they got burgers, or Bob's cousin got a burger, and Bob and I both got corn dogs, and Bob got I think Bob got,
Of course you did.
of course I did, right? Bob got fries, I got onion rings. So the first thing is to note, last weekend was actually chilly for us riding. I don't even think it got to be. It was supposed to be like in the low 80s that day, and there was cloud cover, and then we had smoke from the Canadian wildfires. So it was probably, for the majority of our ride that day, maybe 60 degrees. So it was not very warm at all. It was pretty cool, actually, most
Very,
of the
very
day.
July-like weather.
Yeah, for nowhere except here.
That's right.
Actually, we hit an all-time low today. It was 41 this morning.
Jesus.
Yeah, this morning at our airport it was 41. We broke records for July low temperature. So the questionable decision I made was this. So we went out to this place at this burger joint, and getting the corn dog was not a questionable decision. Getting onion rings, however, and then being enclosed in my own helmet was a very questionable decision. Right? I mean,
Not your best.
no.
Work.
No, I mean, we left, we drove down the road, and I immediately said, oh, I fucked up. Like,
Yep.
I'm breathing in my own onion breath for the next 2.5 hours on our way home, right? So, yeah, it was a good day, though, dude. We rode over 300 miles just
Wow.
around Lakes Country and just to get some, just to go to have lunch. So... I left my house about 8 in the morning. I got home about 3:30. That included our lunch trip. So yeah, it was a good day to get out and ride. I mean, it's the middle of July, and I shit you not, I have less than 2,000 miles on my bike this year. So
Damn.
I just have not. I've been so busy with work and traveling. I mean, I rode. I think I might have told you about my day, but I rode 300 miles. Then I went to a like a wedding reception for about an hour or so. Then I went to a show that night, got up the next day, packed my clothes, and flew out to Buffalo, New York. And I was in Buffalo, New York Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I came home and was home from there. So I mean, just busy week. And then I turn around next week, and to add insult to injury, do you know where I'm going to be the weekend before Sturgis opens up?
Probably real close to Sturgis. Let me guess.
Right in Sturgis. Yep. So we're doing an install at my job, and I will be in Sturgis literally the weekend before Sturgis opens.
Can you ride out there and then stay?
That's a question that's been asked of me. So I'm riding out there for work. Most of the hotels and that kind of stuff are taken up. I thought about riding out there. However, here's the deal. I have to like show up on site to the install like presentable. And when you have like long curly hair and a beard, and then you have helmet head on top of that, it really doesn't like show. It doesn't give off a professional vibe.
I don't have hair. What are you
Right.
talking about?
I do, and I have a lot of it. So it doesn't really give off a
helmet head. What the fuck?
right. It doesn't give off such a professional vibe. I already look like a criminal. I don't need to roll up on a motorcycle at the same time and just really put off the customer. So, unfortunately, I am not going to be. However, my boss did ask me. He's like, no judgment, but are you going to take in Sturgis while you're out there? And I said, I'm not going to be out there very long. It's going to be a real quick turnaround. I'm leaving on Thursday. It's about a 6. I don't know. In my car, I don't know. It's like an 8 or 9 or 10 hour motorcycle ride out to Sturgis from my place. It's almost 700 miles. But in a car, I think I can do it. I think I can do it in about 8 hours drive out there.
700 miles in 8 hours.
I mean,
Oh,
maybe.
well, yeah, your all speed limits is like 110 or something.
Yeah,
So,
it's like 85. Yeah, our speed limits are
nice.
high.
Okay.
But it's not 700 miles. It's like it's six something. It's
Okay.
in that 620, 650 range.
Yeah, whatever.
But it's because, like I said, it's like a 10 or 11 hour motorcycle ride when you figure in brakes and gas stops and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But in a car, when you can eat while you're driving, it's about a 7 hour car ride or whatever. But anyway, I go out there on Thursday. I do the install on Friday, and I come back on Saturday. So that's going to be my my trip to South Dakota. I might try to
Sturgis experience.
for this season. Yeah, for sure. I might actually try to go out. Bob and I were talking about maybe going to Duluth and doing the North Shore. He's never done that before,
Okay.
and that's a beautiful ride. I mean, for anybody that's ever done it, if you live anywhere in the Minnesota area, North Dakota, you really need to ride to Duluth and ride up the North Shore towards Canada. It's gorgeous. So,
Nice.
but yeah, that was my.
So, well, let's not forget about these onion rings. So, did
Oh,
you
yeah.
did you have to take the pads out of your helmet and wash them, get the smell? I'm sure that fucking stunk.
Yeah, dude, it's terrible. I do have a little trick. It's not my trick. I learned it from a friend of mine, from Tony.
Okay.
And when you're done riding, bring your helmet in the house. Because if you leave it in your garage, well, it depends on where you live. If you live anywhere humid, I would suggest bringing it in the house. Otherwise, your like pads and stuff in your helmet probably won't dry.
Sure.
So bring your helmet in the house. Go to your laundry and get a dryer sheet
Yeah.
and put it inside of your helmet and close the lid. And leave it in there until the next time that you ride. And it actually absorbs the moisture, and it also freshens up the inside of your helmet.
Yeah.
It's a great trick, works really good, and then you throw the dryer sheet away.
Yeah, I do that with my truck. When it starts to smell like dog or whatever, let it sit out in the sun with about 100 dryer sheets in there, and it's
Yeah.
does wonders.
Yeah, it's a super effective tool. So
Stay tuned for more tips on how to get smell out of things in our next episode.
Smell out of
Fucking
things.
Martha Stewart shit over here or whatever we're doing. But
Right.
Well,
So
what
we
do
both.
well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead. Do it.
I was gonna say, yeah, we both got a ride in. It's nice. I won't be riding this weekend. Got the kiddo. We're going to be working around the house, but excited about the last weekend of the month. Going to take a ride out to. There's this group here in St. Louis called they put together called Send It Sunday. Do a once a month ride, and we're riding down to Forever Rad, and then down through south of St. Louis. There, some cool back roads, but it's always cool to go down to Kyle's shop and see that. It's a beautiful facility he's got there. I'm jealous.
Nice.
Yeah. So today, what are we talking about?
Well, I mean, we just both kind of talked about our rides and what we, kind of our little trips that we did.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really good and talk about maybe like how riding affects our mental state, our mental health, right? Because I know that a number of years ago, man, it's been a while already, probably 7-8 years ago, Harley did a study.
Mm-hmm.
It was sponsored by Harley Davidson, is what I should say. I shouldn't say Harley did the study, but they sponsored a study to see what effects motorcycle riding had on your brain, and they proved that it brings your blood pressure down, brings your heart rate down, all of these things. Now, this was done with seasoned riders, right, who were confident and comfortable riding motorcycles and their ability, and it was a double-blind study done essentially where they hooked up all these probes to these riders and across the board their physical well-being was positively affected by riding a motorcycle. And so I think that it would be great to talk about what our experiences are with that. And I think that you should tell everybody how that leads into and connects to what we're going to be doing next.
Yeah, I mean, for me, writing has been a game changer for me. I think in multiple ways, but the timing of me getting into writing was probably was one of the most beneficial things I've done in my life. I had when I was married, we had property, we had like a hobby farm down in southeast Missouri, and through a divorce that went away, and so I needed a new hobby. That was my place to go get away, turn the noise off, turn the phone off, and just relax and be me, and be away from whoever I wanted to be away from, and be away from the city. That went away with divorce, and so after my divorce, that's when I started writing. That's when I got my first motorcycle and got my endorsement and all that fun stuff. And so writing quickly became that place, that my happy place, and the place where I went to get away from everything and clear my mind. And so for me, just the timing of getting into writing was a big deal for me, and through that, gosh, it's opened so many doors to experiences that I would have never had if it wasn't for a motorcycle. It's connected me with people that I would have never met, like you. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here today. We would not be doing this together on this podcast if it wasn't for motorcycles.
That's a true statement. Yep.
Yeah, and I've made some really good friends across the country that I could call or text right now and have a conversation with, and that's all because of motorcycles. And so I'm so thankful to one, find a hobby that I love, that I'm passionate about, that it's brought me inner peace. But on top of that, beyond that, it's introduced me to a whole nother life and culture of motorcycle riding, and brought some great people into my life. You're kind of questionable, but most everyone else has been pretty great. And I'm just kidding, but
I accept that. I accept it.
But and that's the truth. And I mean, even it's there's a couple of people that have become really close friends of mine. One, her name's Ashley, who I went and saw last Saturday, who's finishing up her first bike build, which is a badass chopper. And actually, funny, she will actually be our first guest next week on the podcast, and excited to have her join us to talk about what she does for a living, and being a rider, being a female rider, and talking about her first bike build. I think that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you attribute a lot to your reason for getting into motorcycling was this, going through a divorce, this kind of, time in your life. Do you think so? What was the catalyst? Like, what was the, hey, okay, I'm getting divorced, I need to find something to do, or in motorcycling just was that thing? Or are you interested in it? Or how does that, how do you go from a divorce to being a motorcyclist? Because I get the benefit, right?
Yeah.
I just don't get the connection. I don't get the connection to how getting a divorce would drive you to buying a motorcycle or getting a motorcycle.
You didn't follow that? No.
No, like I said, I get the benefit for sure, right? But
Sure.
but like, explain it to me, because I'm curious. I don't know.
Yeah. So for me, as I shared on our first episode, my first motorcycle was my late uncle's Heritage, and he rode, and I think watching him ride and saw what he got out of it was always interesting. As a kid, I always wanted to ride a motorcycle. Never really did it beyond a dirt bike here and there when I was much younger. As I got older, couldn't afford a bike. Didn't have time to ride. When I was married, we had rental property, we had that farm, then we had a kid. It's not something my ex-wife was interested in doing with me, and really didn't want me to have a bike, and I just didn't have time. So for me, it was all of a sudden I had a whole lot of time. My daughter only half the time, didn't have a spot to go get away anymore. So it seemed like a great the timing seemed perfect to, all right, I have the time, I have the financial wherewithal to buy a motorcycle, so I'm going to give this a shot. I've always wanted to do it, so here I go.
So you had influence though around you, like having an uncle or whatever that rode. So it wasn't like a completely foreign thing to you. I mean,
It was not a midlife crisis.
sure, sure. Well, I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but you know, that's a. I mean, I think that's a legitimate question. I think that people do that sometimes. They pick up something thinking that they're going to, you know, spark their youth, and I don't think motorcycling is a great midlife crisis situation, to be honest with you. It's not for everybody. It's not easy. But you know, it also depends on how you want to ride, right?
Sure.
I've seen some people do the whole midlife crisis thing, buy a Harley because they want to cosplay as a Harley rider, and then they ride it around to a couple bars or to a couple local bike nights or you know, like a car show bike event like you were talking about, and then they park it in their garage and tell all their friends that they're Harley riders, right?
Right. Yep.
And the industry needs people like that because they still buy a bike and it still feeds the industry. But I don't. I get that there's a need for those kind of people, but I see something entirely different when I look at my motorcycle. You know what I mean? I don't see a bar hopper. I don't see a reason to tell my friends that I ride a Harley. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like oftentimes I will say like my hobby is I ride a motorcycle. I don't say my hobby is I ride a Harley. You know what I mean? Because I think that that's pretentious sometimes to like present it that way. And I'm also, I don't own any other bikes, but I am open to the idea of someday having a different motorcycle in my stable than a Harley, right?
Sure.
I will tell you that if Harley never made the Pan America, I would be very interested in a non-Harley ADV bike someday. But
Gotcha.
because they have a Pan America, I would probably, if I were to get any Harley right now, today, it would be the Pan America. If I were
Okay.
to go out and buy one. And so just to have that different style of bike in the stable. But so I think it's, you know, I don't, like I said, I don't say, oh, I'm going to go ride my Harley this weekend. It's like I'm going to go ride motorcycle or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
just I think a different way. But I like how you explain it. It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was something that you wanted to do. So you said it came at the right time. You said it did. So what does it do for you? I mean, when you go out and ride your motorcycle, are you riding for a purpose? Are you looking for something to like? Are you looking for that escape, that whatever?
Sometimes, sure. It's a multitude of things. For me, it's sometimes it's escape to get away after a long day, a long week, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's just I want to get out and enjoy the weather. It's nice out and put my
Sure.
knees in the breeze and be outside. But I don't want to sit around. So motorcycling is riding's a much better way for me to do that. And then sometimes the purpose would be road trips. I enjoy I enjoy traveling. Always have. So for me to be able to get out and travel more and to do that, to experience that on a motorcycle as opposed to inside a car or inside an airplane, there's no better feeling to do that on a motorcycle if you can, in my opinion. So it's a multitude of reasons around what gets me to ride. And for me, it's, after a long day at work, maybe it's just an hour rip down the road or, get out of the city for a little bit. And sometimes it's, a much longer ride than that. It just depends on, what my priorities are at that moment and what I have time for and what I can squeeze in or how stressed out I am.
Sure.
So it just depends.
Do you prefer riding in a group or riding solo, or do you have a preference?
Long trips, it's solo. Around here, I mean, I would prefer a smaller group if I'm doing groups. I will certainly do, like I talked about Send It Sunday. There's usually 20 to 30, sometimes 40 bikes, and I'll do that. It's a good group of people, and I enjoy it. And oftentimes, and not to put down like hog chapters, but my experience, limited experience in hog chapter, it's a very slow ride. And I'm not saying I'm burning up the road doing 100 miles an hour, but my pace is typically a little bit faster than the hog chapters I've been in the past. And so riding with like-minded people, I think is what's more important to me than anything else, because they're going to ride. Everyone's going to ride their ride, but like I said, like-minded, we're not doing 110 every chance we get. We're also not doing 10 under the speed limit every chance we get either.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that I think it just depends on the situation. I was talking about that with a friend the other day, and I prefer smaller groups to larger groups. Just in general, I'm not a
Sure.
I'm not a huge large group fan. Kind of like how you said, I'll do it on occasion, but it's really not my preference. I find the large groups to be a lot more stressful than it is stress relieving, to be honest with you.
Sure.
And I've done road trips solo, and I've done road trips with people, and I get something entirely different out of each type of ride. I think I feed off the energy of others when I'm riding in a group, because you have that fatigue factor that plays into it when you're on a road trip, and sometimes it's your riding buddies that get you going, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I also find that if I'm going on a long road trip and I do it solo, I find that I'm actually less fatigued. And the reason why is because when I go on a trip by myself, every part of that trip is on me. And so sometimes I might ride 75 miles between gas stops, and sometimes I might ride up until the point that I'm almost pushing my bike because I'm out of gas, right? But I ride that, I do it that way entirely on feel. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
If sometimes you get on a long road trip, if you've ever crushed a bunch of miles and you're like feeling really good and you're feeling really comfortable, and then you like pull over and stop and fill up with gas, and then you get back on your bike and you can't find that comfortable spot again, and you're like, shit, if I'd have just had 3 more gallons, I could have gotten another 75 miles or 100 miles maybe, because I was in the perfect spot. I was in the zone. I was in it, I was in the pocket,
Yeah.
whatever. But so that's a little bit, so like I said, and I get something entirely different out of it. One of the things that I've talked about in the past, I like having comms units for talking with my friends, especially in traffic. I think in traffic they're invaluable, because my group, we signal each other, and the person in back is talking about cars coming up from the back, and we really use it to keep ourselves safe. But like my friends oftentimes use their comms unit to listen to music, and I almost ride entirely silent in my helmet. I actually don't use music until I get fatigued to the point that I need the music to pass the time. But I actually use that time to digest my thoughts until I haven't got anything left to think about. You know what I mean? And that for me becomes the stress reliever. It's like run the hamster until he's off the wheel.
Got it.
You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of that becomes my stress reliever, and I've talked to my friends about that a little bit too. And there's a couple of my friends that they ride with their music so loud they can't even hear their motorcycle. I mean, it's just this roar of music in their helmet, and I'm not criticizing that at all. I'm just making a statement, right?
Sure.
I like to hear the wind. I like to hear the motorcycle. I like to hear the other traffic. I like to, if I'm riding somewhere where it's a completely different environment, I like to pop my helmet open so I can smell the air, so I can feel the breeze, and I can
Or
just,
get a break from the onion smell.
or
One
get
of
a
the two.
break from the fucking onion smell, right? Yeah. It's just a different type of ride. And so, I get something different from all of them. I found that, going to a place where there is an epic ride or epic scenery, I prefer to share that type of ride with at least one other person, because then it becomes a shared experience. If you go by yourself, it's almost like it didn't happen sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I went and saw this really cool sunset, and you're the only one that saw it, right? But if you share it with somebody, you can like be like, hey, remember that time when we saw that epic whatever it is, right? And then it's easier to relive that memory when there's somebody there to feed that memory off of you, right? I'll give you an example. You sent me a picture the other day, and then you posted that picture in Discord. And so many people commented that had gone to FDBM in Missouri about how fucking hot it was. And people were like, I can feel myself sweating by how hot it was when we were there. And when you sent me that picture, that literally was the first thing that I felt. It was almost like there was heat coming off that picture because it was so goddamn hot when we were down there. I mean, it was like Satan's asshole. And I remember this feeling of being wet for like 3 fucking days when we were down there. I felt like all my shit had absorbed the humidity and moisture of Missouri, and it was never ever going to be dry ever again.
Yep.
And so that was immediately, and it was like reliving that, reliving that feeling. And for those of you that don't know, that goes all the way back to Luke's and I's origin story when we met. We actually took a picture with the group that Luke rode down there with, and then Luke brought it to my attention that Ashley, who was going to be our first guest, was in that picture. So
3 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And honestly, this coming up weekend that I go back out to South Dakota is a year ago that we had FDBM in South Dakota. So, so just this weird time, this time of year has held a lot of motorcycle memories for me. But yeah, I think that I use it to I probably say that I use mine to digest my thoughts, probably more than anything. I don't know that. I don't know if I would say that motorcycling is a stress reliever for me, but maybe that's what I mean when I say I'm digesting my thoughts. Maybe that's how I'm letting them go or getting them, getting them out a little bit. Maybe that's probably a better analogy, but I just. I said it on, I think I did like a moto vlog on my YouTube channel, like probably 3 years ago. And I talked about it. I likened it to a Dave Matthews song called The Space Between. Mm-hmm. And it's actually, the song's not about that, but those words, the space between, is kind of what I describe as that time when you're almost in that state of meditation where you've thought about all the things that are in your head and nothing else is there. You know what I mean? Like that's like kind of the whole point of meditation. So maybe, for me, I use motorcycling as a form of meditation to to empty my head of all thoughts. And then, and I go back to, my close friend, Dave, who passed away. He named his channel Being Here Now with Percy because he talked about motorcycling as truly an opportunity to live in the moment. And that's really what motorcycling does because, for those of you that don't know, there's been other surveys too. Riding a motorcycle, you actually burn about 600 calories an hour just by sitting on a motorcycle. And it's because it engages so much of your body to ride a motorcycle. Because if you think about it, if you're riding in the city, you're using both of your hands, both of your feet, and your core body to balance and to turn and to brake and to clutch. And if you've ever recorded yourself on a motorcycle in a POV view, it's really interesting how all of these things become muscle memory. So like when you clutch and you're accelerating, you actually decelerate and accelerate to left off when you let out the clutch. You kind of go forward and back so that you don't pop your clutch and pop it into gear, right? So you don't jump your tire or pop a wheelie or whatever. That's kind of how you wheelie, right? You dump your clutch and you accelerate and you can pull a wheelie that way, but your body starts to riding a motorcycle starts to become muscle memory, right? And then you start to do things automatically, but you've engaged so much of your body physically to ride that then it becomes this, this time where when you're like a meditation state. That's how I would describe it for me.
Sure. I do the same thing. I mean, I have screamed and yelled and cried and laughed and everything else in that helmet over the years. And that's just part of it. I mean, I can't imagine someone not being able to get some thinking time in or processing time in on a bike, especially on a road trip or even a day trip for that matter. There's a lot of time to yourself there, unless you're riding with a group and on the comms the whole time. I can't imagine not getting some time in to think. So, well, let me ask you this: so you've been riding much longer than I have. What has that evolved over the years of what riding does for you? Like, 20 years ago it did this for me and that's evolved into this. Is it, there's
Right.
some same things, some different things, new things? What does that look like now compared to then?
So, my history was kind of more as a passenger as a kid, right? And so that's probably where the love of it came from. And that was deep rooted in Harley Davidson because that was all I was around. And that was, in the 80s in Southern California. So that was, there was some MC culture involved in that. We did a lot of group rides where there were, some MCs involved. And I'm not going to talk or disparage anybody, so I'm not going to mention any names, but they were all the big ones, right? And at the time, I really didn't know any different. Like, we would go to a campsite and we were with the big names. And my mom would say, this is where you stay. You don't go outside of where the big names are, right? And so we stay here because this is where you're safe. And so, but when I look back and reflect on that time, it was not, I didn't know any different, right?
Right.
And then as an adult, it's evolved into, I don't say motorcycling is a hobby. I don't say that motorcycling is, it's certainly a passion, but it's really about, for me, it's about a way that I identify myself. I identify myself as a motorcyclist, right?
Sure.
It's a part of who I am. It's been a part of my life since I was probably 8 or 9 years old. As soon as I could reach the pegs, I was a passenger on a motorcycle. And I gave it up for a period of time in my life when, for lack of a better word, I couldn't afford to, and I think that at this point in time in my life, when I restarted riding, I knew that I would ride until I couldn't ride anymore. So, be it an accident or God forbid an accident, but or age, right? I'm gonna ride. I'll be a motorcyclist now till I'm not. So I think that it became a part of me, a part of how I identify myself, a part of how my children see me, my family sees me, my wife, my extended family. They all know that it's not a phase, right? It's not something that I'm going to do for 5 years and give up.
Sure.
It's a part of who I am, and so. So I guess I look at it a little bit different. Like I said, I think when we were talking earlier, I said I've ridden, under 2,000 miles. I'm pretty disappointed, to be honest with you, because I don't have a long riding season. And so when I don't have opportunity to ride like I want to ride, I feel like I have wasted time. In the summertime or when riding season is around, my wife never, she's super supportive. Like, if I'm like, hey, I'm going to ride tomorrow, she's like, do it. I think you should. Because she knows, like, in January, it's going to be just another Saturday. And not
Right.
that we don't do things together. That's not the right way to think about it or approach it, right? I definitely spend time with my family and my
what
wife,
did you
and I
do
have
Saturday?
that time.
And
Right.
you did
Exactly. I
both.
spent the whole day with I did both on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
But there's lots of time in the wintertime when I spend all of my time with my family, right?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
we can't even go outside. But so I think that that's kind of how I think about it. I would say that I've matured into this phase of my motorcycling a little bit more, right? I ride differently with one friend than I do with other friends, right? I can kind of, I've one friend that likes to kind of ride fast and kind of tear it up a little bit, and I ride like that with him. I probably ride a little bit more like that when I'm alone, and then I have another friend that just likes to cruise, and likes 2-lane highways, and just he doesn't want to really get anywhere in a hurry. He likes to smell the roses, right? And
Sure.
and that's all. I mean, I enjoy all of those that style of riding. I think that riding for me has never. Let me say this. There's been a few times in my life when I've realized that God is real, that I've realized how insignificant we are in the world, and both of those things have happened to me on a motorcycle. They've happened to me outside of riding, but they've happened to me on a motorcycle. I think it was 2 years ago. No, it was last year. Last year, three of us went out to Colorado and we rode this big kind of sweeping part through Wyoming. If you've ever ridden in Wyoming, it's one of the most desolate, isolated states there are. I mean, you can ride for 100 miles and not see shit.
Yeah.
And we were riding through an area where there was some bluffs and some canyons, and it was almost like wide open plains at the same time. We could see storms rolling in. I mean, there was literally like a lightning strike not even 50 yards off of the side of the road. It actually happened right out of my peripheral vision, and the two guys riding behind me, I think literally shit their pants. I mean, because it hit the ground in the field next to them. You could feel the hair on your arms stand up. It was so fucking close to us. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. And we could see these giant storms converging. We just pulled over to put on our rain gear because we're like, we're fucked. Like,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to avoid this. We were actually talking about like ditching our bikes and trying to find like a farmhouse we could hide in because we didn't know what was coming. It looked really bad. What was really crazy is how it was converging. We actually like split the storm in half. It was pretty awesome. But out there in this middle of the nowhere, Wyoming, I said to one of my friends, I said, I think I've never felt so insignificant. I realized I had this feeling of the vastness of where we were. You know what I mean? How just I don't have a better word for it. How vast it was, and that was it was humbling to feel that way.
Like a little blip on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just was. It was a humbling experience, and I've been fortunate enough to feel that riding a motorcycle, and so I think that is it can be life changing, it can be life altering. Certainly for me, it reaffirmed why I love it and why I do it and why I would continue to do it. Right. You can ride that. You can drive the same road 100 times in your car, and you ride it once on a motorcycle, and it feels like a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say in the last couple years, how it's evolved for me is that Kristen rides with me when she can, and being able to share that with my significant other and have her see firsthand what I'm so passionate about, and share that with her is a lot of fun, and she enjoys it. I mean, she doesn't want to go on a 3,000-mile ride, but like 2 years ago, we went to homecoming and rode up to Milwaukee, and we ended up having to stay about an hour west of Milwaukee because our Airbnb canceled on us a week before homecoming, so that was the closest thing we could get. So we got a lot of seat time, 4 days, about 1,300 miles. And was fine with me. It was a lot for her first road trip on a bike, but it was a lot of fun, and we had a blast. And I'm just thankful I get to share that with her. And I hope that with Sophia, I hope that she wants to start riding with me again at some point, and get to share that with her as well.
Yeah, I hope that I hope one of my daughters rides. I really do. Yeah. I hope one of my daughters becomes a rider. And that that I can ride next to one of my daughters one day, I think that would be a great experience. I've ridden with all the girls in my house, my wife and both my daughters. My youngest probably I feel like is probably the most passionate about it. I feel like she might ride someday. My oldest I think would be satisfied being a passenger, but I could be wrong, right? I think that I've shown them that this is possible for them. My wife would never ride her own bike. And my wife is probably the same as your girlfriend. She's not interested in a 3,000-mile ride. Now, I would say this. If my wife and I had an unlimited amount of time, say we had 30 days, and we could ride 200, 300 miles a day, I think she might do something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where
Yep.
where we could do like a pace where, you know, where she could get out and stretch, and we could see if we planned 200 miles a day, and we had things that destinations we were going to and things we were going to see. I think I could get her to do that, right? We spent 4 straight days on my motorcycle 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, we spent 4 days on the motorcycle, and she was a trooper, man. We had 90-degree days and rain. We had everything in one road trip, and she soldiered through all of it. You know, she did not like the rain. That made her very nervous. But she soldiered through it. I mean, I'm proud of her for that. I'm proud of her for, for getting out there and saying, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll do what you love with you because you love it so much. And I actually even got her to like use a GoPro and record some footage, and
Nice.
I had a lot of fun with it. Right.
Put her to work. Atta
That's
boy.
right. But I think that here's how I feel about it. If your partner in your life, whoever you share your life with, supports your passion, but they don't want to be a rider, don't make them. And don't make them feel bad because they don't want to. But if they support you, then you've won, right? If they support you in your passions and what you want to do, then it's great. I think where I really knew that I had the ultimate support from my wife was when she trusted me to take our daughters on a motorcycle. You know, motorcycling is inherently dangerous, and there are people that she works with that say, that just say absolutely not. Like I would never let my husband, number one, ride a motorcycle, number two, take one of our children on a motorcycle, and when I hear those things, first of all, it really does kind of grate on my nerves a little bit because they say things like I would never let my husband, and I'm like, wow. That's not a partnership, right? And
Sure.
I'm not, and my wife's not like that at all. She's my partner in everything and supports me in all my weird and crazy shit ideas that I get or things that I want to do. But I'm thankful for her because I think my personality completely unchecked would be a little bit out of control because I think that I would put myself in situations that were probably not maybe not the smartest thing to do from time to time, but she has given me the freedom to express myself, to be who I am. Last week we talked about tattoo culture, and one of the things that I've told a lot of people about that whole situation for me is that I got married when I was 20. I got my first tattoo when I was 22 years old. I had no tattoos when my wife married me. Now I'm fully sleeved on one arm, tattoos on the other, right? And long hair and a beard. I'm not the person she married. I'm not, right? But I am all of the person that she married and all of the other ways that she's been, that I'm thankful that she's let me express myself. So, and that includes motorcycling because I think for some people that can be a form of expression of maybe who they are, right? I said, I identify myself that way. And so...
Well, you all grew up and evolved together. I mean, that's what you hope out of a partner. Because, I mean, even in my 40s and, Chris and I are together for another 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, we're going to grow and evolve as people as well. And hopefully that's, a true partnership will be supporting one another as we each do that in a healthy way.
Well, you've always heard, you've heard people, that person would be really great if they did X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
So, and as soon as you change them into what you think you want them to be, you won't like them anymore. You know what I mean? That's what I always try to remind people. Like, don't try to change somebody into something that you think you want them to be, because then, then you're not going to.
If you're looking at someone saying they'd be great at X, Y, and Z, you need to go buy a house, fix it up, and flip it. That's what you need to do. Not a
Right.
person. This is a person,
Right.
not a house. So.
Right, exactly. No, you're absolutely right. So let me say this: we both talked about positive things about motorcycling. There's got to be something inherently negative about it. What would you say would be a negative attribute of motorcycling? Because there's got to be. There's what would be a negative?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one would be my fucking credit card statement. Fuck that. Jeez.
Yeah,
What are you
motorcycling's
laughing- you're laughing
motorcycling's
because
not cheap.
you've changed up your bike 85 times. So
Yeah, motorcycling's not cheap. It's not.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, certainly, I haven't had a lot of negative experiences, and I've been lucky. I mean, I've certainly had some close calls and dealt with some real assholes, real peach of people. And so those have probably been the negatives, come real close to wrecking real bad a few times, and knock on wood, I have not yet. I'm going to wreck. But those have been the negative. I haven't been in a wreck yet. I haven't, I haven't dropped my bike and done severe damage or whatever the case may be. I've been lucky to not have really a lot of negatives yet.
Right. I would say this. So for as many negative people in motorcycling culture, there's probably 100 times more positive people, right? And I think you find that in any, if you want to call it hobby. I have found the motorcycling culture to be one of the most generous, giving cultures out there, right? How many times you see charity rides, benefit rides, these kind of things that exist everywhere. You're going to find assholes everywhere in the world. You're going to find assholes in motorcycling, right? So that is that's an absolutely true statement. You're going to find every type of culture, faith, all of those things are going to exist in motorcycling just like they do outside of it. It's a microcosm of society. But what's really crazy is that it brings people together, in a way like nothing else I've ever seen. Like you said, we never would have met without motorcycles. I'm telling you right now, all my very best friends are motorcyclists, right? And I don't have a lot of close friends anymore that are that are outside of motorcycles. I really don't, that are just civilians, right?
Sure.
I really don't. And what's really weird is when you find yourself in social situations and you're around groups of people and you're the only one there that rides. It's an odd scenario, because even if when you're in a room for a motorcycle, room full of motorcyclists, holy shit, that was hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
You always have something to talk about, right? Because you can always go back to the bike.
Sure.
But when you're in a room full of civilians who don't ride and you're the only one, you feel like you have a secret in the room that no one else knows.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way at all.
No shit.
Yeah, and maybe that's because I've only been riding for 6 years. I don't know. But, I mean, I can talk to anybody about anything within reason. Do I bring up do I eventually bring up motorcycling or something? Yeah, not on purpose. Just that's something I'm passionate about. It's part of my life, and it comes up in conversation. But I mean, you want to talk college football? You want to talk Major League Baseball? You want to talk about the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles or something? Sure, I'll do that all day as well. I don't know.
Well, and I don't mean that I can't talk to people, because that's not a true statement. What I feel like is I feel like I know something that they don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have a secret that they've never heard before. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
that I do something that they can't relate to, that they don't understand, that they don't.
Sure.
That's what I mean by it, because I can talk to anybody too. Like you said, I have, I love football season's right around the corner, right? I love the fall.
Yeah.
We used to tailgate, and we love college football. My wife and I love to go to games and do that kind of stuff too. So, I love that season. I kind of ache for that every Sunday football.
Sure.
We used to have a fireplace. We used to light a fire and watch football all day and have a fire in our house, one of the houses we had. So don't think that way. It's more like that I have a secret about it's like a secret. It's like a cheat code for life that they don't know about. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about it.
Gotcha. I guess I just never looked at it that way. Like, I mean, a bicyclist or a marathon runner may think the same thing.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I agree with that, because I think it's very true, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I don't understand runners at all.
No, unless something's chasing me.
Right. Well, and that's it. Like, and it better be something that could kill me, because I'm not running from a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, I'll run from a bear, but I'm not running from a person. You know? Yeah. So I mean, like that's so it's a. So I get that. I would agree. I think that's a great analogy that you bring.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's absolutely right. Maybe a gymnast or an athlete, right? I think that they probably feel the same way. I think that there's a longevity about motorcycling, though, that you can do it. Like, you can't play basketball your whole life. You can't play football your whole life. You can probably run most of your life. You could probably be a cyclist most of your life, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think those things, I think those are great analogies. You can be a motorcyclist for most of your life. You know what I mean? But there are things you can't do forever because your body's going to break down and it's not going to allow you to do it,
Sure. Well, maybe those conversations are, hey, tell me what you're passionate about.
Right. Well, and that could be too. I've asked people though too that have said that if they couldn't ride on two wheels, they wouldn't ride on three, and I don't feel that way either. I would ride a trike. I'd ride the shit out of a trike.
I'll make that decision when I have to make that decision.
Right, for sure. I'm just saying, like, I'll ride the shit out of a trike. That doesn't scare me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was my only way to get that same feeling, I'll do that too. But
sure, absolutely.
So, but I don't think it did. So, besides your wallet, is there anything else that hits you as a negative?
No, I mean, no, there hasn't been a real negative. I mean, I wish that, I'd love to go take 2 and 3 week trips, but I also don't want to be away from my daughter and my girlfriend for that long. Right. Like, so I wish maybe the negatives are more like I don't have enough time, or time doesn't allow for what I'd really like to do more often. But that's life, and one day I will have time. That's not forever. That's
right.
That there's a shot clock on that. At some point, the kid goes off to college, and I could take a 2 or 3 week trip if I want. So,
sure.
What about you?
I think the negative for me is that I wish I would have started earlier in my adult life. You know what I mean? Like the window of opportunity. But then I always look at it, right? I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I think that maybe that was the thing, like if I would have started it when I was 30 or when I was 25, would that have changed what I am now as a 50-year-old? I think it would have.
Sure.
So, if I would have started when I was 25 and I was riding now at 50 and riding for 25 years, would I just be ready to give it up because I'm 50 versus, or almost 50? I guess I turned 50 in a week or 5 days, whatever it is now. But so that, because now I feel like every season that goes by, my window of opportunity to ride is smaller. You know what I mean? Like that.
Sure.
That's why when I was saying I was feeling disappointed about not riding as much this season, because if I lived in Florida or California or Texas or Missouri or whatever, you know what I mean, where you live, where you have a much bigger riding season, I think I would feel differently about, because I can say I've never ridden here in December, I've never ridden in January, I've never ridden in February. Those 3 months I've never ridden in. I've ridden in every other month, but I've never ridden in those 3. Now, has there been days when it's been warm enough? Sure. but the road's so fucking covered in salt that
Yeah.
it would just destroy my bike, and I'm not interested in
Not
that.
worth it at all.
No. So yeah, I think that and then when I think about, well, I'll have the time when I retire, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like just that idea. And that goes back to just a personal thing for me. You know, my dad said that his whole life. I'll do that when I retire. I'll do that when I retire. And he got sick before he,
Yeah.
you know, before he had to quit working early because he got sick, and then he died. And he never did the things in his life that he wanted to do.
Yep.
And so I've kind of adopted this, you know, say yes more attitude, right?
Yeah. No, I'm all for that for sure.
So yeah. So I mean, we talked about some benefits. We talked about, you know, how it makes us feel. We talked about, you know, obviously there's a negative financial impact because it's not cheap.
Sure.
I think that segues to Ashley. So why don't you tell everybody out in podcast land, tell them about our guests so that we can give them a preview of what they have coming up next week.
Yeah. So I met Ashley through riding motorcycles and through the Harley dealership that I deal with. And we've taken a ton of day trips together and rode a bunch together. She been riding longer than I have. But recently, I guess a little over a year ago, a year and 7 months ago, I think is what she put on her Facebook post. She started building her first bike, and it's a Evo Chopper. And just finished that up over the weekend. I got to see it the day before she fired up, and it's beautiful. Did a really great job with it. Did it all herself with the help of a friend, kind of guiding and teaching her, but she did all the work herself and did a great job with it. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about that, her riding experiences. But also, she is a therapist and specializes working with veterans who are dealing with whatever challenges they have from their service with PTSD or anything else of that matter. And so we're going to talk to her a little bit about that as well, and what that looks like, what those programs are available for veterans here in St. Louis and maybe elsewhere across the U.S., and you know what got her into wanting to work with veterans as well. And we're excited to have her on the show, and very excited to have her as our first guest. It's gonna be a good time, and I'm already mentally preparing for her to give me a ration of shit. I know that's gonna happen, so I can't wait for that either.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for somebody to get on here and
shut your mouth, Ryan.
There's literally nothing that's gonna please me more than hearing her give you a bunch of shit. No, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing her perspective and you know, kind of learning a little bit about a little bit more about that. I could envision her, you know, being somebody that we have on multiple times, because there's so many things that I'd love to pick her brain about. I'd love to pick her brain about being a female motorcyclist, about building her own bike, about, you know, her work in the mental health field. There's just so many things, right? And I, like I said, I could envision her coming on a few times because I feel like her perspective could be very, very interesting. And I think it's really cool because here's the other thing, and I'm just going to put this out here to the community at large that's been listening to our podcast. A big thank you to everybody. Luke and I had some milestones and some things that we wanted to accomplish with the podcast when we started it. I outlined a couple of things that I said, here's some metrics that I would like to do, when I would like to see us accomplish those. And I'm not going to tell you all what they are. I'm just going to say that they existed because Luke and I are committed to this podcast being good. Okay. This is a little bit off topic, but I want to talk about it anyway. And I think it's just a good way to end this podcast. You guys, the listeners out there, have supported us, and we've achieved a bunch of these goals that we had set out, early goals for our podcast. We've achieved a lot of those way sooner than we expected to, way sooner than I wanted to. And also, I had told Luke that we would not be having guests this early. and I didn't want to be the boss, but I felt like we needed to develop a rapport in chemistry. Well, a lot of these things developed way quicker than he and I expected. We got a lot better feedback a lot sooner. And like I said, we reached a lot of our goals. A huge thank you to the community that has supported us, that has listened to the podcast, that downloads, that subscribes to YouTube. I implore you, all of you that are doing that, is repost our posts on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Tell a friend who rides a motorcycle. Tell a friend who doesn't ride a motorcycle. Because what you've heard, obviously, is we've had 50% motorcycle, 50% non-motorcycle through our first four podcasts. This is going to be a format for us. We're not always going to talk about motorcycles. In fact, there may be a time when we don't talk about motorcycles at all, and that it's not even a part of the topic, a part of the conversation. It has nothing to do with us getting up and speaking.
We're going to talk about how to get the smell of onion rings out of your helmet. It's going to be awesome.
That's all motorcycle related, Luke.
Oh yeah, my bad.
But I just want to thank the community out there. Thank you for supporting us. Go buy some merch. Go join Discord. Join Patreon if you feel like you want to support us further.
Because this shit ain't free.
Yeah, but Patreon is free. Patreon is totally free. A great community of people already on Patreon. Luke hasn't had to kick anybody off yet. He's threatened to kick me out more than once already.
You obviously haven't checked your Patreon lately.
Not Patreon, Discord. He's going to kick me off Discord.
Yeah. Sucker.
Yeah, sucker. You're already off. Yeah, I haven't even got on Patreon. You already kicked me off that.
That's all right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Another episode. Look forward to seeing you next week with our first guest. And until then, ride safe and have a good week.
Ditto.